So what was it about Tarsim's vision that drew you guys in?
Am I going first this time? Take it. I'll disagree.
I met him a few years ago about another movie he was going to maybe do, and I just thought he was a very talented guy. I was looking to do something a little more genre after some of the more serious films I've been doing, and it was a good part. I like the part of Stavros, who kind of he's kind of the most grounded of the movie. He's kind of your everyman, because he's not a god, he's not dressed in gold, and he's not dealing with any kind of loss, except basically he's a thief and a slave, and ultimately I think is very intrigued by this beautiful woman sitting next to me, and ultimately decides to team up with this crew and go and help. He realizes he's probably going to die on his own anyway, so why not go out with the pretty girl and the crew and a really sad, lonely death in a slave train. So, that was pretty much the crux of it for me, and I thought I could do that part really well, and I knew Tarsem had something to prove. It'd been a while since he'd gotten to flex his muscles. We saw a little of it on the cell in the fall, but, for the masses, I felt like, let's go for this one, and so I think, again, not having seen the film, but I think it's starting to feel pretty strong, so that's good.
Yeah.
Better than them saying, "Ooh, that looks like a bed."
Would you actually say that if you thought it did?
Probably. Yeah, I'm pretty honest usually. Kind of brutally honest usually. Yeah, I'd be like, "What happened, dude? The movie's..." No, I'm just kidding. No, probably if I didn't like it that bad, I just wouldn't show up to things, But I kind of betting that, and from what I hear, and some of my friends have seen it, they say it's really strong. They say Freida's great, I'm great. The movie works. So we'll see.
Yeah.
They could be lying. They could just be stroking my ego. I don't know.
Well, for me, his vision was really determined before the film was made. So even though they had a script, I think he was a writer for the visual part of it, and knowing that he had made films like The Fall and The Star, and he directed Losing My Religion, and you see all these amazing things in terms of the adverts that he showed in the past. I just knew that it was going to be different from what I had done in the past, the 3 other films that I'd done before. So I guess the way he sold it at the first meeting that I had with him and how he envisioned me to be. And what I think was amazing is that he decided to play it not like the typical Greek epic. Because I think we've seen that it's been done and we're tired of it. And this was his take, it was his vision, and the studio was going to let him do it. And I guess that makes it very, in a way, what's the word? You just feel comfortable knowing that you will have certain things that you can contribute, and he will be open to taking suggestions, because it really doesn't depend on a book or something that someone else has written about the character.
Yeah.
So that was nice. The openness about it was really great.
Well, what sets it apart from other Greek epics? I mean, what is it that really distinguishes it from any other things of its genre?
I think it'll look different than anything you've seen. Yeah, visually, I think he's created a world that we haven't seen. And I think, I don't know, I mean, story-wise, it's stuff you've seen. It's all in the execution. It's a very, you could say it's like Star Wars in that way, having the trifecta of the 3 of us on this journey kind of thing. But I think it should feel original. It'll, definitely, for the 300 crowd mixed with, I think it's completely amped up from that. It's a much more broad movie as far as the scale, I think, than that movie. And so I'm just looking forward to seeing what the audiences think. It's too bad we couldn't show them the whole thing, but I think we have a little ways to go before we open, so they didn't want to show it yet. I don't think it's done yet. So,
yeah. Do you get in on the action, or is yours mostly...
Yeah, I do. I mean, he's kind of a rogue warrior, and, Theseus does more of the fancy stuff, but Stavros, jump out of the ceiling and, kill some people, and I do get into some sword fights.
It's rougher. The fight that you do is more rough, and there's
not as choreographed. I'm more of a street guy. I bring more of kind of a modern day feel to the character. Like, since we're not doing these accents and kind of talking like we're in the Greek mythology times, I'm not like, hey, what's up, dog? I'm not saying that kind of stuff, because that would be a little ridiculous. But I am kind of talking like I am right now. Like, hey, look, why don't we just head south? I mean, you can follow the English guy, or we could, have our own little party. We could have our own little party down south, and Freida's just looking at me like I'm out of my mind. I mean, it's kind of, so I think Stavros, for me, I wanted him to feel like the audience could identify with somebody in the movie, you know, because everybody has special powers. So I don't, you know, I'm just human, and I just I have the needs that every human has. I'm hungry, horny, lonely. You know, I'm really attracted to the Oracle. You know, what do I got to lose? I could, you know, hang here drinking water out of my mouth, chained up, or I could escape with this crew. And so that's kind of the setup of what happens with our larger sort of.
Did they at least give you a cool weapon at some point?
Yeah, I got a sword.
Okay.
I got a bag where I keep my stuff that I steal. You know, very little clothing. We had this incredible costumer, Aiko. He's worked with Tarsem on everything, and she's just, you know, she won an Oscar for Dracula. I mean, she's just a mad genius, and I love her as a woman. And when I met her, she's like, you know, you, Stephen, very little clothing. And I was like,
okay.
What? And she's like, you, this skirt, and very little. And I said, oh, no skirt for me. I can't pull that on. You know, I'm good, but I ain't that good, Echo. And she's like, okay, no skirt. I said, no skirt. No skirt, I'll take pants. I don't care if I have no shirt. And she's like, okay, I make you leather strap. I said, okay, so leather strap, pants, and a pair of boots and a bag. It's pretty much my costume. No shirt, no jacket. Once in a blue moon, I get that cheap little kind of trench thing that I wear on my shoulders. But it was definitely the most naked I've ever been on film. But it was fun, you know, hence my poster there. No, I had a great time with Eiko. She's a pretty amazing artist, and I think she adds a lot to actually Tarsem's vision and to the look of this movie. She's somebody that gets a lot more credit than just a costume designer, I think.
Yeah.
Did you have any input on your costume?
She pretty much had an idea of how she was going to, you know, what it was going to be like, and we knew that we were not going to do the typical Greek toga thing, because, like I said, we've seen it before, and we're fed up. Like, now let's do something different. So knowing that Tarsem and Eiko work very closely together, you know, as a team, they designed something that was going to be Eiko's vision of what a feminine beauty should look like. So she decided to put her in a corset, like really, really tight corset. The only thing that I had a say in was that it was too tight, and I didn't want it open all the time. So Tarsem and Eiko came up with like an idea where I could have it buttoned up, but it was actually open.
I remember that weird red hat you had to wear too. That was pretty tricky, huh?
And drink water.
And drink water with this veil and this weird balancing act.
Yeah, it was like a lampshade.
I was like, okay, that's the hardest thing you're going to have to do on this movie for the right there. She's like, Steven, I can't, you know, just balancing this thing. I felt bad for her. The girls all had these weird.
Yeah, and next to it, because it was like literally like balancing a lampshade.
And poor Daniel with the horn thing. I mean, that thing takes, you know,
we
that
had
takes
pretty
some courage.
crazy costumes. We had them. I mean,
I think I could have pulled that off. Yeah. But,
Did it at least look cool?
Oh yeah, it did. I was covered in terms of the men had to kind of, you know.
that's the thing with Eiko's stuff. Is like, it looks so weird when you see it, and when it's on, and it's in the course of the sets and the way it starts out shooting, it really comes to life. You know?
But it's also the fabric she chooses in order to make it look, you know, that beautiful and rich.
Detail.
Yeah, the detail. The scarves that, the veils that we had were like, you know, hand sewed. It took a long time to do it, but everything was specific. And it was interesting to see that even the designs that we had on our veils were actually part of things that were there on the walls already. So the attention to detail was immense.
That's what kind of that connection that Tarsem and Eiko have. It's like really comes into the production design. It's much more than just, oh, I want you to wear this dress in this scene, you know. And that's usually what costume designers do. It's more about. And this was much more. She's almost like a production designer as well.
Yeah.
She's really a talented woman. Great lady.
Freida, what's it been like for you to move into these bigger productions, Planet of the Apes and that, and this one? Does it change much the basic process of filmmaking and the acting for you as you get into these larger scale movies?
Well, the acting really depends on the kind of character that I'm playing, so it really doesn't depend on the scale of the film. You know, in this particular film, I had to speak a certain way, hold myself a certain way, I have everything very internalized. It was meant to be not too much expression, you know, that kind of a thing happening. Like, you know, no one should understand what's actually going on inside me, kind of a thing that I was playing. But in terms of, you know, the amount of time you dedicate to this film's going to be shot over 3 months. You're going to probably work 2 months, but you give it the 3 months just because you know that you never know when you're going to be called back in. They're big sets. You never know when they're going to need that set again. So you just have to be there, be patient, and have fun when you're not filming. And that's what we managed to have. We just had like an amazing group of people out there. It's not quick and intimate, if I could put it that way, as an independent film, because you don't have too many people on an independent project. In fact, when I did the film with Michael Winterbottom, we had 6 people on set. That was it. We didn't have like a separate hair person, separate makeup person. It was just like 6 people on set. The actors go in, they actually walk into the real railway station or whatever it is, do the bits and come out. Here there's a lot of fussing over and a lot more that is different. But I guess it's very specific as opposed to like the independent films. There's a mark that you have to hit, which you don't really have to do in an independent film. You just kind of play with the environment. But there's a lot more specific things that you've got to keep